Back again, this time to talk about some of the books I'll be reading in February. I know in my last video I did say that I would be posting regularly, that I plan to post about once a week, maybe sometimes 3 times a week. However, the very next day after I made that video, I found out some upsetting news, and I needed a minute to absorb that news and cope with that. However, I'm fine now and I'm ready to get back into the videos, so I will be posting at least once a week from here on out. I also apologize for the view of my bed here. In case you didn't see my last video, I did talk about how my son has moved home temporarily and I had to give up my book room in order for him to have a bedroom here. So most of my books that were in that room are now out in the living room, and I'm working on setting up a little space in there that I can comfortably record in. But until I can accomplish that, you all are going to be kind of stuck with this view, so sorry about that. So I am pretty much a mood reader. I have a tendency to just pick up books randomly or whatever happens to strike me in the moment. But I do love to buddy read, and there are some just few events and group reads that I do also like to participate in. I also really like to buddy read, and this month I have a few group reads and buddy reads that I can say I will for sure be reading. And the first one that I'll tell you about is One Corpse Too Many by Peter Ellis, which is book 2 in the Brother Cadfael Chronicles. If you're not familiar with the Brother Cadfael Chronicles, they are about this monk in the 12th century who solves murders. He doesn't look for these murders to solve or anything like that, but they just seem to kind of fall into his lap and he ends up solving them. At least that's how it's going so far. I'm only on book 2, so I can't say that holds true for the rest of the series. But I am buddy reading these with Mark Richardson, and for book 2, Bryan over at the-Crustic Codex will also be joining us. And if you're not familiar with those two booktubers, I'll have their channels linked down in my description. The next book is What Dreams May Come by Richard Matheson. So I have a reading project that I'm working on this year. I'm calling it Books on Screen. And what I'm doing is I am reading books that had movies based on them that I really loved. And one of the movies that I really loved was What Dreams May Come, starring Robin Williams and Cuba Gooding Jr. It was a lovely movie. And I've long wanted to read the book that it was based on. Come to find out, it's written by Richard Matheson. I had no idea. He wrote one of my top 3 favorite books of all time, which is I Am Legend. So I am really excited to read that this month. The other one that I have is Forrest Gump by Winston Groom. Who doesn't love Forrest Gump, right? So I read the synopsis of the book, and it does seem like it's going to be different from the movie. One of the differences I picked up on from the synopsis is that in Forrest Gump, we have Tom Hanks, who is just an average looking guy. But in the book, he's being described as very large, very tall, and very strong. So I'm going to be really interested to see how many differences are going on between the book and the movie. Another book I'll be reading this month is Ring Around the Sun by Clifford Simak. So this is part of a Simak reading group that Sean Stanfast started last year, where you read a different Simak book every month because, as we all know, Clifford Simak was Sean's favorite author. And those of us in the group decided we were going to carry on. And so the next book is Ring Around the Sun. I have actually already read this, but I'm going to go ahead and reread it so I can discuss it with the group this month. Another book that I'm reading is Revelation Space by Alastair Reynolds. This is part of another group that Sean started called the New Futurians that I was participating in, and we have also decided to carry on in that group. And Revelation Space is the next book, which everyone's actually going to be reading this in March, but I'll be reading that this month with Summer at Sterling Reads and with Scott Danielson. I've long wanted to really give Alastair Reynolds a good try, so I'm looking at this as my opportunity, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Another book that I'll be reading this month is Spooky Action at a Distance by George Musser. So I'll be reading this with Bryan at the-Crustic Codex. And I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but all of these booktubers that I've mentioned here, I'm going to have their channels linked down in my description in case you're not familiar with them and you'd like to check out their channels. So this is about quantum entanglement, and it was written in 2016. So this book is probably going to be a little out of date because I know that last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, I can't remember what year it was now, but like 3 scientists won the Nobel Peace Prize for experiments surrounding quantum entanglement. So it has been proven, and I don't think it was at the point that this book was written. So I'm still interested in reading it though, and Bryan was too. So we are gonna read this book and find out what it has to say. Okay, that is all the books that I know for sure that I'll be reading in February. And with that, I'll call it the end of the video.